Today we're joined by Bev, Philadelphia's premier Christian drag queen. With a background in musical theater performance, this queen knows how to turn it. Although her first experience of performing in drag actually took place on the set of Hairspray the Musical in her hometown of Baltimore, it wasn't until she moved to Philadelphia that she truly began getting her feet wet in the unholy waters of drag. In developing and honing her drag skills to match the sharpness of her naturally witty tongue, this God-fearing firecracker has lit up the Philly drag scene like the fires of Babylon. Hi.
Hi, Mimi.
Today I'm joined by Bev. Bev, how you doing, girl?
I'm delightful. How are you?
I'm real good. I'm very excited you decided to join me for this podcast.
I'm excited that you've joined me here in my beautiful scenic penthouse apartment here in lovely downtown Philadelphia.
Yes, we're recording from the Chateau de Bev, surrounded by vintage playbills.
I just adore a penthouse view.
Boxed
That's
wine.
Green Acres. I'm an old queen. It's fine.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but...
Nothing wrong with liking some Ava Gabor.
Now, I created this podcast because I wanted to talk to queens about drag and how they came to doing drag. Now, you started doing drag from being in a production of Hairspray as an actor.
Right. I came from like a theater background, and I did a production of Hairspray where at one point they needed boys to play moms at the end of Act 1, and they didn't have enough girls. So my friend and I were the token drag queen moms, and we created these alcoholic, pill-popping, crazy Christian mom characters named Bev and Carol, who just like stood in the background and tried to upstage everybody, and then it kind of took on a life of its own after that. We did like a YouTube series and all this other kind of crap that I probably will have to end up deleting most of, because they'll come back to bite me in the ass at some point.
Did you ever think that when you were starting doing it, literally kind of just as like a little inside joke on the set of Hairspray, that it would become something that you would do regularly?
Oh, God, no. No, because I mean, I had done quote-unquote drag roles in other musicals. Like I did Bat Boy and like other shows where guys had to play girls. But it was like never serious. And then when I moved here to Philly, I tried to do theater, and there really wasn't a community theater scene here like I was used to. Like it was either like did professional theater, or you did like crazy off the wall shit in like the basement in a black box and like a pool full of blood. So that really wasn't my style either. So I just like randomly tried to do like an open mic night style thing as Bev, and it just kind of took off from there, and it's evolved. You know for what it's evolved from like bad makeup and one wig, and now I'm addicted and buy like 4 to 5 wigs a week, and I have a problem.
You have a wig addiction.
I do have a wig addiction.
Seen it.
It's I should be on My Strange Addiction with that bitch who eats couch cushions and her husband's ashes, and then it's just me sitting in my bedroom brushing a new wig that just came out of a box.
It's like that scene in Hedwig when Yitzhak's in the hotel room and
yes,
just like brushing
just surrounded
the wigs.
by platinum blonde wigs. Yes.
Has your drag always been conceptual? Now, for those of you who don't know, Bev's character, I think, started more conceptual than it is now.
Well, I was gonna it was like I took this whole like crazy Christian character and like started doing like making fun of like religious nut jobs, but there's only so many gospel songs and song parodies and stuff that you can do. And then I've always been into pop culture and like the typical gay movies and gay TV shows and stuff. So I started to then branch out and include that. And it's just kind of, I mean, it's still the same character. I feel like it's still the same like irreverent character. It's just not as honed in on the whole Christian thing as it was in the very beginning. I still come back to that a lot, but I feel like it's broader now than it was originally.
Did you feel a pressure to change your drag character to be more like commercial, more marketable, or was it just that you were bored with it? What?
I mean, when I first started out, I was like, I'm going to be like Coco Peru. I'm going to have one wig, and that's going to be my signature, and that's what I'm going to be known for. But that wig itself was like a really shitty, like, costume, bad theater production wig. And then I did Drag Wars with you, and a lot of the critiques that I would get would be like, we want to see something different. So I started to just like look into other looks. And then I'm one of the queens that like, if I make a mix, I have a specific costume for that number. So then like, I have a Debbie Jelinski wig, and then I had a Winifred Sanderson wig, and then I had a specific wig that was for different looks that I couldn't wear the same mousy brown wig with. So it just kind of took off from there. And also, I mean, I'm never going to be the prettiest one in the room, but after a while you get tired of being like the homely sister in the corner when you're surrounded by glamazons too, which what it was for a while. So I don't try to be like, I'm never going to be fishy. I'm never going to be like a supermodel. That's not what I'm trying to do, but I am trying to at least make it a little bit more palatable and make it more accessible to people that would be like, oh, what is this boy in a dress doing, if it was still the way it was when I started.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely can understand what you're saying and definitely relate to what you're saying. I've seen a lot of girls, especially like more camp drag or kooky drag, who end up kind of making their drag more pretty or more glam or fishy. And I'm just curious what...
I mean, I still do numbers, like with crazy wigs and like hand-me-downs from my mom's closet, like an ugly snowman turtleneck and stuff. But it's not 5 minutes worth of makeup that I'm slapping on my face last minute. I just take a little bit more time to make it draggier, but it's still, I feel like it's still for the purpose of being funny. I'm never going to go out on stage and do a ballad and just stand there and be pretty, because I don't consider myself, that wouldn't be one of my strengths, but it's also not something that I would aspire to do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think the great thing about drag is that it kind of, you can literally do it in any way.
Right, and I'm not taking away from girls that do that. That's just not how I've ever approached it, and nor would I care to do that.
I just find that frequently, I think a lot of times camp girls find a pressure to be something else, to be something more clean and clear cut. And I think, I think of somebody like Dina Martina, who clearly came from that place of like, when I first saw you do drag, you reminded me a lot of Dina in some ways. Yeah. Because it was this kind of like intentionally bad drag. And I love that. There's a queen in New York whose drag is like that. Her name is Busted. Literally looks as though her name sounds. And so I love that. But I'm always intrigued when somebody goes from that kind of like so bad it's good. Like Shalita Baby was another one I can think of that was bad drag.
I always like idolized for years, even before I ever did drag myself, someone like Varla Jean Merman, who's gorgeous in her own way, but it's not like supermodel beauty. Like, it's her character, and she's pretty, but she's also hilarious, and she can go out on stage and make people piss their pants, but she still is tall and statuesque and beautiful in her own way.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Varla is just like the best. Like, there's Varla, and then there's kind of like a lot of other people in that category. How has it been for you in that transitionary period when you're trying to discover, and they call it finding your face, this process these queens go through, that moment when the makeup clicks in the right way that works for you, and I think you're in that process.
Yeah, that's
figuring
definitely
that out.
Still a growing process for me, because I am always trying different things that I'll watch someone in a dressing room try something. I'm like, I should incorporate that next time I'm doing something.
Do you feel like you're being like judged or critiqued by girls whose makeup skills are impeccable, obviously? And do you think that you were critiqued less when your makeup was bad on purpose? No,
I think originally it was just kind of considered a lost cause, the way that makeup was in the beginning. But I mean, I feel like I have always been critiqued on the aesthetic, because I've been told, and I think it's kind of true. I kind of approached drag backwards of what a lot of girls do, where like I feel like a lot of, especially we see it a lot with doing drag wars here in Philly, these girls that are newer concentrate so much on the makeup and on the look, and then the performance is not all that stellar. Like you just go out on stage and lip sync a pop song and it's boring. I always had confidence in like my mixes and in my numbers of what I was doing. And then the look was just kind of what I could make of it, because I've never taken a makeup class in my life. I don't know how to style wigs. Like anything that I do now, it's from people either reading me and having to grow from that, or like I have friends and girls that I work with that have helped me. I mean, you helped me that time that you painted my face as you one time, and I picked up some things from that.
I forgot I even did that.
Yeah. I played Mimi Imfurst one night at the Dollhouse here in Philly.
Oh my god. Oh, I remember that, and you borrowed my outfits too. That was funny.
But I mean, I learned like how I do my highlight around my eyes. I sort of incorporate that from what you had shown me that night. It's just, I'm an observer, but I've never taken a formal makeup course. So I work with girls here that's their job. That's being a makeup artist. And that's amazing for them. They're ridiculously talented. I just learned through trial and error and process of elimination.
I hear what you're saying. A lot of girls approach it with the face first. And I think part of that could be the RuPaul generation of drag. The show has definitely created an aesthetic to strive for. Do you think that a lot of queens are doing that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if your goal is to be on RuPaul or Drag Race or whatever, or to even like work professionally, you don't want to have a paying audience look at you and say, "Oh, you look busted." Like it is a visual medium, so I think
it's both. I think that's the component that I think gets lost a lot. Some people will go, "Oh, it's an entertainment medium." Some people go, "Oh, it's a visual medium," and it's both. I think that's what causes schism in the community, is that you have two different groups of people who are focusing on two very different aspects of drag. And I think the ones who are truly successful are the ones who know how to incorporate both. Do you think that the schism between, quote unquote, the camp theater kooky queens and, the more pageant or pretty or makeup queens, do you think that schism still exists?
Oh, definitely. I mean, from my experiences through working with you with Drag Wars, there's lots of different types of drag that these girls do, and you, as someone who was a contestant and is now a judge, a lot of times I'm met with a lot of backlash because I'm critiquing girls who I don't necessarily have the skills that they do in terms of looks and things, but that's their strength, and that's not my strength. So I feel like I witness it a lot, because I feel like these girls don't realize that you can try to do both, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're gorgeous, that's amazing. Are you happy just being gorgeous, or would you rather try to push yourself and do something beyond that?
Well, and you're very vocal, and you're not afraid to have your opinion about it. And you've certainly have gotten some backlash because of it. Do you think that some of it is that you're hesitant about the type of drag that they're doing?
I don't think that I'm hesitant. Sometimes I feel like it's sort of, I don't want to be someone who rests on their laurels. I feel like a lot of the girls that have problems with me and with my style of drag, or my lack of skills in the makeup department or whatever, or my look or whatever, have decided that they have reached what they want to do, and then they're fine with that, and that's happy with that. That's just not my approach. I'm always going to be trying to push myself and try something new. I'm always making new numbers, working on new costumes, buying new hair. The girls that I see that sort of rest once they've gotten to that fishy, pretty look, that's as far as it goes with them. And I just kind of see that as laziness, maybe, as a lack of a better word.
Do you think that there's a willingness to stop learning? Do you think that there's this place of saying that I'm happy with how I look and there's nothing beyond that? Is that what you're saying, or?
I don't know.
Well, I want you to be honest.
No, because then I'm just going to get more shit from
No, but like, no, but screw that. But like here, because you can't live your life depending on what other people are going to think of your opinions.
Right.
You know,
I guess I'm from Baltimore, and Baltimore is a very pageant drag heavy circuit, as you're witnessing firsthand. And that's just not ever what I considered doing. That's just I know that I would not excel in that type of environment. So I don't. It's not that I don't understand it. It's just that that's just not my style and my preferences. And when having to critique someone that's their style and that's their background and that's their scene, my only way that I can critique that is compare that against my own experiences, and they're so different that I'm not going to clock you on your gown or your look or your hair or your makeup, because what business do I have critiquing that? But I can critique you on your performance, because that's where my strength is. And that's where I get into the problems with look girls, because it comes back to that schism where it's the look versus the performance, because they've spent so much time on that look. And I feel like they haven't put nearly enough time on the performance itself.
One of the things that I've noticed, sometimes the girls who are, you know, the look girls, or the ones who really focus on the aesthetic, they have a hard time taking a critique on their performance. At the same time, if you were to critique a theater or a camp queen on their look, 9 times out of 10, they take it better. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's because those girls come from a theater background and they're used to taking notes and making an adjustment?
They're used to taking notes. But I feel like it's also an openness and a willingness, maybe, because I don't think...
they're very different worlds, you know what I mean? It's, if you look at pageantry, which I love pageantry and I look up to it, and I think there's definitely something that every drag queen can learn from that, because like I said earlier, I do believe that drag is both a look and a performance, and I think we should all strive to try to make both be as successful as possible. But when I look at like a pageant score sheet, you know, if you look at, I looked at one recently from a contestant who was in a pageant and looked at their scores, they're very detailed about the types of things they critique on. You know, your earrings can't touch your dress, or your gown has to be a certain length off the ground. I sometimes wonder if that's counterintuitive to what drag is about. You know, for me, if I look at drag is about taking society's number one rule, which is what is the sex and or gender of a child. When, you know, for instance, when a woman is walking down the street, you know, we ask, is it a boy or a girl, before we ask if it's healthy or when you do. When you're walking down the street and you look at a person, the first thing your brain tries to register, is that a man or a woman? That's long before you try to decide their race, their economic status in the world, are they attractive, are anything you try to determine about them. So we're ingrained in this, is this male, female, we must determine it, whatever it is. And drag is the thing that says we're going to break that important rule and we're going to twist it on its head. And I think because we break society's most important rule, the other rules are a lot easier to break. So for me, I sometimes wonder if the pageantry, if that's the only thing you do and the only thing you know and the only world you know in drag, is it counterintuitive to the ability to let go, to have fun, to play dress up?
Well, because everything is so serious. Because if you know that you're going to be deducted 20 points because your earrings touched your collar, then that's what you're going to fucking focus on. That's all that, I mean, that's a big thing, because that point, half of a point can depend a lot. I judged a Miss Gay Maryland preliminary back when long before I did drag in Baltimore. I did.
I wish I could have been there for that.
And I gave everyone perfect scores on the look, because what do I know about a gown? I mean, especially at that point, before I'd even dreamed of doing drag myself. I was hired to be the one that was critiquing their talents, and that's what I did. And I was harsh on the talents because that's what I knew. But they take that very seriously, and I can certainly understand that because there's a lot of fucking money that's put into it, and there's a lot of fucking money that
it's a lot
is
of
up
time
for
and money.
grabs.
Yeah.
And it's a different mindset than you and I, where our mindset is what is an audience going to respond to and laugh at and go along with and live for, and I feel like it's more like entertainer.
Well, we come from a theater background, which is very different. You know, before RuPaul's Drag Race came along, there were kind of two ways that you could build your name in the drag world. You had, you know, the Cabaret, P-Town, San Francisco circuit, your Coco,
Miss Richfield,
Varla, Hedda Lettuce. They were, the Cabaret queens. They were working that circuit. And then you had the pageant circuit, which was a lot in the Midwest, especially in the South. And that's so deep rooted in drag, which we've already said is very regional. So I think it's kind of interesting now with Drag Race throwing the monkey in the wrench to kind of toss everybody's values and the things that people used to strive for into a big mixing ball and say let's as an industry try to figure this out. And I think it might be a little difficult for some girls who grew up in the pageant world and having that be the thing that they aspire to let go a little and to find a happy medium more towards that world of the cabaret and theater thing. And on the flip side, you have the girls who really, like yourself, who really idolized people like Coco Peru, where it was not about the look. And but I think now it's hard for you to find that medium more towards the pageantry and a focus on the look.
Right. I mean, you've seen me more recently start to try to I'm wearing gowns and I'm starting to try to use bigger hair and bigger jewelry, but it's sort of with my own twist on it. It's not a perfect updo that a crown's going to go on top of, and it's not covered in Swarovski crystals and that kind of stuff. But it is, in my opinion, an elevation of something different than what I was trying in the very beginning.
Are you doing it because you feel pressured because that's what other people are doing, or is it...
No, I'm just trying to make myself be versatile. I know there's going to be times where I should wear a pretty gown for something, either for a photo shoot or for a number or for a gig or something. It's like when we do, a lot of the times when we're judging Drag Wars stuff, we all decide that we're going to wear gowns. I should have a gown that is right for that occasion.
Is drag for you a business or is it an art form for you?
I mean, it's right now it's a creative outlet for me because I've always enjoyed performing, and it's never been... I think it'll be a long time before it is my main source of income.
Is that something you want?
Certainly. I think that it could. I think it's within the realm of possibilities. It's just, up to this point, it's been, and it still is, just something that I do on the side that I enjoy doing, that I think I do relatively well. And it's a little bit of extra money on the side to spend. Most of it goes back into doing drag anyway. But I do have a day job that pays the bills and gives me the health insurance and makes sure that I can actually keep my phone on and my lights on and my bills paid.
I guess what you're saying is that your versatility, you think, is that important to you to be more well-rounded?
I feel like I don't have a problem with the performance aspect. I'm very confident in that. It's the look that I'm personally myself trying to push myself with right now in terms of hair and gowns and everything to make it more marketable as I try to maybe transition this into a more of a full-time thing.
Because one of the things I've heard about you from other people is that they feel like you lost some of what made you unique back when your drag was,
busted.
The Bev, the God-fearing Christian character. I mean, it really was a character. It was it was a conceptual character, and people feel like it's been diluted because you've tried to make yourself more versatile.
I mean, everyone grows. They're not you sent me, I looked at pictures of you from how long ago? 10 years ago, in the car over the weekend. It's very different. You grow as a performer. I think
but
the character is still there.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that different is that, when I looked at your character of Bev, it was super conceptual. Like it would, like for a lot of queens, like myself, I never had a concept of who my character was. You had one from the get-go. So I'm just wondering if you feel like that character is being changed because you want to change the outward, because you want to be more versatile, or is the character changing as an artist because you want to do different things?
I think the character, it's always been like an offensive kind of tongue-in-cheek, stylized in the way of like Devin Green doing Betty Bowers, the America's Best Christian, which is this underlying like racist, offensive character. Like my humor is still very, when I host shows, like I'm always making fun of someone for something. I feel like it's always been kind of a hypocritical, two-faced character. There's only so much you can do with the Christian nut job thing before you at least I found I had to, at least in terms of like live performances and performances in bars, there's only so many Sandy Patty, gospel mixes that I can make, and where people are just like, okay, we've seen this again. I mean, we've seen this before. Even if it's a new number, we've seen her do this before. It's the same thing. Rehash version 6.0. So I expanded it to include other things I love, like movies and pop culture and Broadway references and other diva, broad-ish kind of characters that incorporates like an Elaine Stritch type of attitude or a Patti LuPone type of attitude to make it, it's still funny, and I feel like it's still tongue-in-cheek and offensive. It's just not as specialized as it was in the beginning.
Do you think it's because the audience wants more variety? They're bored quicker with an idea?
I think in my opinion, I'm working with different audiences a lot. It's not the same audience for me because I work in a few straight bars, and I do a couple things at different bars where there might be an older crowd versus working at a big nightclub where it's going to be a younger crowd. And I had to sort of tailor the act and tailor the references to the crowd that's going to, I can't go into in a pub that's predominantly 80% straight people and do a Death Becomes Her number because
they're not going
to get it.
Yeah.
But, or even like a Sandy Patty Christian thing that little repressed gay boys who had to hear that growing up in a church household like I did, would immediately get. You just kind of you learn through trial and error to tailor your character and tailor your performances to the audience to get the best results, in my opinion.
Well, it sounds like you're definitely leaning towards the idea of your drag being more commercially palatable.
Mm-hmm.
To be a working queen, you have to.
I think you have to.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. Do you think that someone like Dina Martina would have as easy time building her drag career in the climate that we're in today?
Oh, certainly. I mean, isn't there an old video of Dina Martina from like a Wigstock or something where like you could tell that the audience just wasn't even sort of paying attention to her, and I think it was like, it's on YouTube. I've seen it.
Because her character is so specific. You know, she really is a fully conceptualized character.
I love Dina Martina. I mean, she's built up such a following that would be difficult to do nowadays.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, I think of somebody, even Varla. You know, Varla's a conceptualized character. There's a style to it. Somebody like Dame Edna, I mean, that certainly is a character. Mm-hmm. Do you think that we're in danger of losing the ability to create those kinds of high concept characters in the drag climate today?
No, because I think you're getting characters like that in like a Bianca Del Rio or a Sharon Needles or even like Alaska or someone like that is creating a specific character that's a separate person from their male counterpart. It's for a more this time and this climate versus just the P-Town type of crowd.
See, I kind of disagree with you in some ways because I feel like someone like, for instance, like Bianca. Like Bianca, obviously, there's a different kind of attitude between Roy and Bianca, like vastly different, you know, between who they are. But I don't think of Bianca as a conceptualized character. I think Bianca is a sharp-witted drag queen with a razor mouth, but I don't think of it as a conceptual character.
Right.
I think Sharon was a conceptual character
When she started.
and I feel like she's lost it because she's had to be
Commercial.
more. She has to do more than just have a cabaret world. I think Alaska probably is the most successful.
Or even someone, I know what you're going to say, but even someone like Ben de la Creme, that's a very specific character that's very different from his.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know him personally, you do.
No,
But
it is.
I think for me, like, it just, as I started, this whole drag world opened up to me. I've always loved Debbie Jelinski from Addams Family Values, or I've always loved Helen Sharp from Death Becomes Her. And suddenly, I can find a wig that looks like her, and I could do a number about her, and it's still Bev doing it. It's just taking on a different character for that specific performance that's different than, because I now have a medium to do something to recreate that kind of performance, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, drag is always going to be a separate part of you. It's always going to be a character that is slightly different on stage, but I'm just talking about that more highly conceptual drag.
We've gone down a very serious rabbit hole.
No, but you know, I mean,
you've told me before that you feel like I've lost a lot of the character, and I don't feel like that I've lost it. I just feel like it couldn't always be a black pair of cat eyeglasses with a ratty, mousy brown wig, and have people want to continue to see me 4 or 5 nights a week
but
doing
why couldn't it?
shows.
Do you think it's just harder? I mean, I think you can why not?
Because I think audiences would get tired of that. I think that
So how does someone like Dina Martina do it?
because she's not seeing the same people every single night. I mean,
But that's
P-Town
the
is a
question.
very
No,
tourist
But that's the
heavy
question.
town.
And
She travels a lot.
Of course. But the thing is, in this market, if you wanted to build your career as a drag queen, you have to work at 12 different bars. Mm-hmm. You can't just be touring and going to a different audience every night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Dina was a drag queen living in, name a city, America, building her career today, if she would be able to do it herself.
Well, also, I mean, in the day and in the age of Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that kind of stuff, everyone and their mother has opinion and is an expert because of Drag Race about who's amazing,
it's the couch
blah, blah, blah,
expert.
blah.
The couch expert. I mean,
it's all about how many Instagram followers you have, and there's polls for who should be on season 8 of Drag Race, and it's get 5 million of your friends to like this picture on Instagram, and it's like someone like Dina Martina probably would never survive in a climate like that, just because it's a younger demographic, and everyone has access to a phone and a computer in their hands, and now I sound like a crotchety old man.
No, but do you think the art form has become more homogenous?
I think and you know better than I do through your travels with RuPaul's Drag Race, I mean, there's 50,000 people out there in podunk nowhere who have computers, who have an opinion on everything, and will certainly make it vocal, and whereas before, if you wanted to go see a drag queen, then you went to P-Town, or you went to San Francisco or whatever, and you paid your money to get into that person's show because that was the only time you were going to see it, versus trying to get 9 million Instagram followers by posting 64 pictures a day of what your makeup looks like.
A drag queen's job is very different these days. It's very different. Do you feel a pressure to change who you are, or tweak and shape who you are because of the comments and, what people write on Facebook to you? Or
yeah, certainly. I mean, I'm always going to do what makes me happy first. But like you said, I come from a theater background. I'm used to taking notes. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to just ignore something. I'll consider it and take criticism as best I can and apply it as best I can, and to the point where I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it's very different. I think it's this interesting age where, prior to social media, as an artist, the only feedback you got that was accessible for you to read was whatever the official reviewer would come. It was the paper, it was the Times, it was the Post, it was like 5 or 6 sources. And now you have critiques coming from everyone and everywhere, and I think the line between
everyone has a blog, everyone has a
podcast now, apparently.
Well, all it takes is
2 microphones.
2 microphones from Best Buy and
But I mean, that's the thing. I think that it's interesting because I think social media and the ability to self-publish has helped a lot of artists immensely. But at the same time, it's this double-edged sword because you as a performer now are dealing with an audience that has the ability to be just as vocal back to you.
Well, and fans expect a lot more too.
A lot more
obviously, access. I mean, my partner Luke, for those who don't know, I met when he was on tour with Phantom of the Opera, and just from the few times that I visited him while he was on tour, I saw the crazy fans, they call them, who literally followed that tour around everywhere and waited at the stage door and wanted 16 pictures in every city with the people at the stage door. And it's just now accepted as part of the job. If you're going to be a professional performer, you're required to have that relationship, or else you're going to be branded a diva or a bitch or lose your favor with the fans.
Do you think it's distracting as an artist to actually have the ability to create?
I mean, I wouldn't know. I'm not nearly on that level. I mean, I'm fortunate that a lot of the friendships that I have come from people that I've met through them just coming to my show and reaching out to me and telling me that they like it. So I'm very fortunate in that aspect. But I wouldn't know someone like who's been on television or been a professional performer.
Not even that, because I think it happens to everybody on some level. How much of your time is spent maintaining and dealing with Instagram, dealing with looking at messages, dealing with the comments and all of that?
A lot. But that's because, I'm involved with a lot, and I have a lot on my plate. So it takes a certain level of maintenance and upkeep to keep up with the schedule that I have.
So how distracting is that for you as an artist? When you want to create something, how much of what you're doing do you have to take into consideration now and go, well, how are people going to respond to this?
Oh, a lot. I mean, I know that I could throw a ton of obscure references into a mix. I've done it before and gone out and done a mix just because, for example, I, for 10 years, have loved Lisa Kudrow in The Comeback. And I made a comeback number, and I did it. And 4 people in the audience got it. And it's one of my favorite numbers, but I'm probably not going to ever do it again just because it's hard to do a 6-minute number when we're looking at a sea of faces who are either looking at you with confusion or looking on their cell phone because you lost them in the first 30 seconds of your number. I mean, yeah, I certainly take that into account. Are people going to get what I'm doing, and are they going to stay with it enough to stay engaged for the length of time that I'm performing?
Yeah, it's crazy to me how audiences are engaged these days in different ways. There's a lot of, I was in New Orleans for the RuPaul's Drag Race Season 7 premiere party at the House of Blues, DJing on stage behind the cast while they're performing. And it was hysterical to me to literally watch, I would say, 2 out of every 3 people had their phone out and was experiencing it through
the screen on the phone.
I'm recording it and like watching it, and they're going to be able to go back and watch that again and again and again and again. But what's funny is that they never actually got to just see the experience.
Watch the performer. Yeah.
And I think
But who was it that said? It might have even been you. I don't remember who it was that said. Are they on their phone, or are they on the phone because they didn't want to see you, or are they on their phone because they want to see you? There's a difference between holding the phone up in the air and recording someone, or being bored and just checking out and checking your Instagram versus paying attention to what's going on in front of you.
Well, it's both. You have audience, because here's the thing. I think as an artist, no matter who you are, you could be Madonna, who is, one of the 4 biggest selling musical acts of all time. How many people who know who Madonna is, what percentage of those people like her? 25%? Probably, maybe less. That's what's crazy to me is as an artist, you almost have to be crazy to be in this business because first, step one, getting people to know who you are. Step two, getting people to be a fan. So it's someone like Madonna. Think of how many people in the world have never heard of a Madonna song. And then the ones who do know her, what percentage of them like her? So for any artist, on any scale, it's going to be some combination of the people who are engaged and appreciating what you're doing and the people who are there but not present or don't care. I think it's particularly hard in the business that we work in, where we typically don't deal with attentive. We don't deal with attentive audiences. People are drinking in a bar. It's a social setting. It's not a sit down and watch the show kind of vibe. That was one of the things that shocked me when we did our drag queen concert of Into the Woods songs. How much of the audience they behaved like a theater audience, as opposed to a drag show audience. But that's the rare. That's the rare thing. 9 times out of 10, I would say half your audience is watching the show and half the audience is engaged in some other way. Right. So you have to fight even harder. But I guess, do you worry about the backlash? Do you worry about when you're on stage, someone's probably going to record this, and I need to think about what I'm doing differently because, of what the people online are going to see?
No, honestly, I mean, the online thing, honestly, no, I don't really worry about that. I'm more concerned with the people in front of me who paid to get in the door. And are they, because I host a lot and perform a lot. Are they getting their money's worth? Are they enjoying it? Are they going to come back to see me again? Like that kind of thing. Online, if someone posts a video of my performance, that's great because I obviously am not able to record myself. But I have yet to really encounter any online backlash based off of that. So I don't really have anything. I have never had to worry about anything like that where someone like you.
Well, I'm not necessarily concerned about it as much. I think it's something that I've become less concerned about. It's crazy. It's just like the more successful you are, the harder it gets. One of those things. The more successful you are, the harder you have to work. The more successful you are, the more that those types of crazy comments come at a greater volume. And when they come at a greater volume and a greater regularity, you become desensitized to it. So, I can...
You've said to me in situations like, girl, it's only going to get worse as you become more well-known. Because I've had problems in the past.
100%.
At shows with people. And I took that to heart. I was like, okay, that's just one of the things I'm going to have to get used to.
Yeah, when I started doing drag, Facebook wasn't even a thing. It was MySpace. And I can't imagine the pressure, like with an app like Instagram, right? Instagram is purely a visual thing, and so a lot of drag is the aesthetic is created and honed to work best for that. What is it going to look like when it goes on Instagram? I got to make sure I have a good picture. I got to make sure my face is painted right because I want to make sure I can take that good picture. Because part of my job,
use a good filter.
Well, part of your job is
to airbrush it so that it looks.
Come on, Facetune.
Come on, Facetune.
You get the pressure to do your drag in a certain way so you can get that really good photo. I don't know that I would have gone through some of the exploratory phases that I did if I felt that same pressure, because it didn't exist. It was literally like, let's just put this look on. There were times when I used to go out wearing, and I'm like, I was about to say this, like, I'm a big girl, I used to go out wearing like fishnets and panties and like maybe a corset, but like I would have like my bare chest out, and I would like paint mascara like dripping all the way down to my chin, and I would go out with a mohawk and wear like, like remember those like belts that have like little bondage rings all around you could like buy on the street, or like the ones with spikes. I'd wrap those around my neck, for necklace. It was very punk, and like I went through this like crazy experimental phase. I went through phases where I was doing different types of drag and having a blast doing it and doing crazy things, going to the Cock in New York and doing the unspeakable. But I don't know that I would have been as comfortable going through all of those phases for essentially 8 or 9 years of doing almost every imaginable type of drag. That's the beauty of living in New York, is that I was able to.
Well, you also started a lot younger than I mean, I'm 32. I've only been doing this whole Bev thing for like 3 years.
Yeah, but I just wonder, as we go back to this conversation about, stepping away from being such a conceptual character, I'm wondering if you would have explored it longer if there wasn't the pressure to be or look or present in a certain way.
I don't know.
I've
never
There's
really
no
thought
way to
about
know.
it. I pretty much went through my first cycle of Drag Wars with you, pretty much, in my opinion, keeping most of the look the same.
You did. And then you came back for All Stars, and all of a sudden it was as though you had changed it. And I think that's when people was like, what happened? And it was very successful. Obviously, you won All Stars. For the people who don't know, we've been talking about Drag Wars. Drag Wars is basically RuPaul's Drag Race meets The Voice, but it's live on stage from my demented and twisted mind. So
and it's really where I got my, 90% of my experience and exposure here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, I think you were.
I had done a few things here and there with another bar, but it was relatively small, and then I did Drag Wars, and it opened me up to a larger audience, and it kind of just took off from there for me in terms of bookings and exposure.
It definitely broke you out of the mold. It definitely put you on the map as, I think, one of the top tier drag queens in Philly, if you will, whatever that means. Top tier. I couldn't think of the right word.
All it took was a microphone in front of us for her to give me a compliment.
I do give you compliments.
I'm just kidding.
I enjoy you. No, but I'm just wondering.
You're saying that you miss the old character, and I get that because I get that a lot. Not a lot. I get that sometimes.
No, it's not necessarily a miss. I'm just curious where you're going, and I'm curious what your.
I'm entering this RuPaul's Drag Race audition process, and you have to fill out all the questionnaires about what do you bring and what's your style and what's your thing and what do you want to present yourself as. And I use the tagline Philadelphia's premier Christian drag queen because I still present you're never going to see me in a bondage fetish gear out. I'm still very, the character is very prudish. It's always kind of older. I
also wonder, I've heard you said it, and I've said it myself before in the past, and it's funny to hear you say it, where you say, I'll never be that fishy, glamorous, pretty queen, Do you think that's your own fear that you don't, do you not believe that you can do it?
Yeah. I'm not a makeup artist. I don't weigh 120 pounds. I don't have legs for days. I'm 32 years old. I'm not 21. Again, coming from the theater background, I've always been taught to know your limitations and know your strengths. And my limitations are I can only do so much look-wise with myself, and I'm always improving, but I just know that I'm never gonna be the prettiest one in the room unless I'm surrounded by a bunch of ugly.
But do you think that how much of that is you thinking that, and how much is that in reality?
Well, I don't know. I don't want this to be a therapy session, but
no, but it's not. But the whole purpose of this podcast was to explore, what's in the inner thinkings of drag queens. It's
every girl, whether they be a girl or a drag queen, loves to hear oh my God, you look amazing. Oh my God, you look great. Oh my God, you look pretty. It's nice to hear that.
Oh no, of course.
Once in a while,
of course, you want the compliments, and that's the part about drag. Is drag is about I think for a lot of people, the kind of the extending and finding the most fabulous part of yourself. So I guess my question for you is then, where do you want to go with your drag? Not necessarily like, oh, I want to go and I want to tour and make lots of money, and like, you know, of course everybody would love that. But my question is like, where do you want to go with what you're presenting on stage? Like, what is the end goal? If you close your eyes and you were to be happy, what would it be?
Someone who could make and do it. Like, I love hosting. I love doing, like interacting with an audience in that aspect. I mean, I've done stand up before. I would love to just do like a Bev comedy show where it's mixes and then hosting and then costume changes and like just kind of like a show that I've built that keeps people entertained and I'm able to do the things that I do best, I guess. End game is just to I always, when I was younger, I was like, when I was in middle school and high school, I was like, I'm going to be on Broadway. And then I got to college and I realized that was not going to be a possibility. So, I mean, only recently have I even begun to entertain the idea that this whole drag thing could be something that I could do professionally. And maybe I don't even know if I've given enough thought into what the end game is. Right now, the goal is just to increase exposure and push myself as an entertainer and just see how and continue to get the positive reactions that I've been fortunate enough to get.
Where do you think that drag is going in general? Do you think that we're moving towards a direction?
Well, it's certainly being like more mainstream. I mean,
do you think it's mainstream?
I think it's certainly moving there. I mean, when you've got, I mean, Drag Race has helped a lot with that, and you've got like drag queens that are being used more and more in movies and TV shows and that kind of stuff. And not just as hookers. Like, it's certainly, I mean, everyone watches, it seems like everyone watches RuPaul's Drag Race. They get huge name celebrities to go on there now and be judges.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it's the most mainstream it's ever been, but I don't think it's mainstream. Like, I don't think, RuPaul's Drag Race is not American Idol. It's not even Project Runway.
Well, right.
And, I'm not trying to discredit RuPaul's Drag Race because I think it's done wonderful things for a lot of people and a lot of the drag community and the drag business. But it's not mainstream, It's.
Well, I think it's moving in that direction. It's certainly more mainstream than it was 10 years ago.
Do you think it's capable? Do you think drag is ever capable of being mainstream? Like I guess the question I ask,
when a drag queen show can book a venue that is typically used for concerts or for Broadway productions or for something like that, then certainly, I mean, when someone like Bianca Del Rio can sell out a concert venue that typically is used for relatively large concert and bands, I think it's certainly possible. I mean, RuPaul had her own talk show. I think it's possible.
Yes, but at the same time, like RuPaul, even at the peak of her music career, was never as successful as, like, she was never a Britney Spears. You know what I mean? Like, we've never had, like, to me, that's what, if you, like, truly mainstream. Like, I'm not like, I think being able to do...
But do we want it to be mainstream?
Well, that's the next question. Like, is it dangerous to the art form for it to be mainstream?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it comes from, we as gay people have always been kind of outsiders, and that's also changing in terms of societal perceptions. But it does. I think about drag losing. I worry about drag losing. It's like kind of punk. It's sensibility. There's always going to be a good half of America that's not going to be okay with it. Like, yeah. There's that whole red part of our country that's going to always have a problem with it.
What's interesting is that it's been around since the beginning of time.
Right.
Drag has existed.
Just through the medium of TV, it's just made it more accessible to the people that are open to it. That's all.
Well, of course. I just wonder where drag is going.
Who's to say?
No, I don't think we know. That's why I'm like curious what your opinion is on, where do you see drag in 5 years? Where do you see drag in 10 years?
I think because the gays are the ones that have disposable income and have like the access to this is stereotypical, but like the most access to the most recent technology. I mean, as technology progresses, I feel like the gays and therefore drag as an art form will embrace, at least it has up to this point, embrace the most current media outlet that it can go into, whether it be, I mean, like YouTube and now the internet and digital media. Who's to say what it's going to be in 20 years? I mean, I don't know. We may not even be alive.
Who knows?
Us old biddies.
So you're getting ready. You're getting ready. You're gonna apply for RuPaul's Drag Race.
I am.
You're nervous, excited. How do you feel?
I don't want to jinx it by saying that it's on this podcast.
No, but I'm just curious. Like what's on your mind as you're going through beginning to apply for it? Like it's daunting for anyone who's not filled out the application or not seen the application. It's like 50 pages, and they want a lot of information, and they ask a lot from you for the audition tape. A lot. I mean, when we were auditioning on seasons 2 and 3, it was literally just like make a tape, show us your look, and lip sync a RuPaul song, and it has to be between this time limit and that time limit, and that was it. Now you have every drag queen in America wanting to be on the show, even if they say that they don't, they secretly do. And you have, a lot of baby drag queens whose sole existence has only existed
to get on
in a
television.
RuPaul's Drag Race world. They don't know drag before. I mean, you have to realize if someone is 21 years old, right, and going into a bar, that means that RuPaul's Drag Race has been on the air since they were 14. Like, that's an entire gay man's adolescence.
Oh, definitely.
It's just interesting that you now have that's like it. Like, I want to be a drag queen, and I have to get on RuPaul's Drag Race to be successful. So I'm just wondering, like, what is on your mind as you are about to go through this process?
Well, I mean, I've always been one that like enjoys challenges, so I like it's the task of going through the audition process seems daunting, but like for me, it's also exciting because I like the challenge of putting together something that has so many different requirements and so much is expected of you, because I've always been a people pleaser. And I've always been a perfectionist, so I think it's exciting in that aspect to like try to present the best version of myself and just kind of put it out there in the world. And I'm excited to see what happens with it. It's my first time doing it. Who knows? Who's to say what will come of it? But it's the first time I felt like I could actually do it. Because I mean, people asked me last year if I was like, I'm just not ready for it yet. I don't have the makeup, I don't have the sewing abilities, I don't have the looks, I don't have the resources. I've spent a year trying to change that and build that up, so I'm excited to sort of put it to use.
You've become one of those queens that I'm talking about. That it's really like, but it's fine. But it's fine if it's a goal of yours. I'm not saying wanting to be on RuPaul's Drag Race and building your drag character, in any way, maybe not even in its entirety, but like even if a part of you're trying to change to be on this show so you can be more successful, I think is just interesting. It literally, I mean, that's it. There's RuPaul's Drag Race, and that's it. Like, there's no other clear path to
unless pageant, unless
you're doing a pageant, but I'm talking about some sort of level of mainstream success. I mean, if you're a singer, you can go on American Idol. You could also go on The Voice. There are myriad of other television options as well. America's Got Talent. You go through all the different competitions, but you could also go and try to get a record deal. You could
submit your demo.
You could go and be on Broadway. You could do this, do that. With drag, this is it. This is it, kids. Like, you want to be a famous drag queen in America or in the world, you have to be on RuPaul's Drag Race, because that's the only place they're looking for stars. Other television, sure, bit parts come up on TV shows. You see them, pop up on your cop drama or on, your sitcom or whatever, but there's not a lot of opportunities for drag. So, do you feel like you're in a good headspace? Like, I think it's great to hear you say like I feel ready for the first time, because I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I look at the length of time that we have from now till when it's due, and it seems like a lot to get done, because I do work full time and I do have other things on my plate, and trying to fit it all in is really the most daunting task right now. But I think it's exciting, and I'm always looking for some ways to push myself, and I feel like this is a logical step. So,
do you feel in a good headspace? Like, are you going into it saying like, this is something I want, this is something I have to get, or is it something
I'm approaching it from like I've always, for the most part, gotten a very good reception to my drag style and my character and the way I present myself, that I feel like I'm hopeful that opening myself up to a national audience, it would be a similar situation. And maybe that's my cockeyed optimist way of looking at it, because I know everyone says that, and then you have someone who gets eliminated in the first episode and everyone hates them. But I mean, up to this point, I feel like I have engaged an audience well and had a lot of positive experiences. So I feel like I would hope that's how it would be.
Now, obviously, if you do the process, you fill out the application, and if you're lucky enough to be considered, you then go.
They don't think that you're a psychotic nut job.
Well, let me tell you something.
There are some that get all.
That contract is long, but I'm going to tell you, as someone who's done it, the process after you send your tape in, it's even longer. And, I won't go into details of it because I prefer to not be sued, but, it's
Come on, do not disclose.
Come on, do not disclosure. It is a long process, and it's a psychological waiting game, and that's part of it. People who have their complete wits about them don't make for great television necessarily. So you want to stress people out some. So that's part of the game. Not necessarily, you don't have to act crazy, but it's definitely, they're trying to keep people on their nerves, because it makes for stronger reactions to things. But I think, smart people know that. And obviously if you were selected to be on the show, you would have a clear trajectory of things you would have to do. But my question is, if, for some reason you don't get on, how's your headspace about that?
I mean, like I said, it's only my first time doing it, and you hear girls that try out for years and years and years and years and years. Would I be disappointed? Probably. But I mean, wouldn't be the first time. I've not gotten a role or a gig or anything like that.
You're also used to it. You've been through the theater process, so you know what it's like to be up against hundreds of people who want the same thing you want.
You deal with it and you move on, and I have things here in Philly and I'm starting to do things in New York, and we're doing things in Baltimore, and I'm excited about that as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had that stuff planned long before I knew that I was going to have to get this tape together in 3 weeks. So who's to say how long RuPaul's Drag Race is going to be around? But if it doesn't happen this time, I would continue trying until I can't try anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I tell everybody this. I say, if you get on the show, that's great and it's fantastic. But if you can also figure out some other way to try to build your career and your brand, you should do it. Mm-hmm. So what's next for Bev?
What's next for me? We've spent all this time talking about pageants. I'm actually, I am entering a pageant, quote unquote, for the first time. It's the Miss Northeast Comedy Queen pageant. So it is a pageant, but it's framed around being a comedy queen. So like your evening gown is outrageous, and your talent has to be comedic, and you do a comedic on stage presentation. And I think in lieu of like on stage question, you have to like pick something out of a bag and then do like a 60-minute spokesmodel thing off the top of your head as to what that object is and what it's used for.
That's so stupid.
So coming from an improv background, that's exciting for me to do that. So I'm doing that, and then I'm hosting an event in New York in a few weeks for the first time, the Miss Fish pageant, which is hilarious that I'm hosting something called the Miss Fish pageant. But I'm excited to open up to a new audience that way. And then just continue doing my weekly and monthly shows here in Philly that I have a few. So I'm a busy gal on the go.
She's a working girl.
I'm a career girl.
with career
Do you have the
things.
businesswomen special?
Well, they can find you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
You asked me all these questions about my
things.
family and my childhood, and
I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it. We'll have to do
Judy's
another
going to
one.
be very upset about it.
Judy's Bev's
Shout
mother.
out to Judy. That's
Judy
my mother.
is
Bev's biggest fan. Hashtag Bev's mom.
Bev's mom, and she comes to many
Mimi
of your
abuses
shows.
her on a weekly basis
Your
in
mom
Baltimore.
is a very
You've
good
called my
sport.
mother a whore.
Three-
Let's just be call a spade a spade. You've screamed in front of a room full of over 100 people that my mother is a whore.
And you know what? She's okay with it.
She
says she was not okay with
you
it.
always catch her when she's a couple fuzzy navels into the evening.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, your mom's the type of gal that if she was not okay with something, she would make it known she's okay with it.
She would tell me.
She gets it. She's good people.
She would tell me.
We'll have to do another one. We'll talk about your family and stuff. We kind of got off on a tangent with the drag
philosophical debate.
But that's cool. Like, I think it's interesting.
They're going to be like, episode 1, what's this bullshit?
Well, it is what it is. So, but we can find you on Facebook. We can find you on Twitter. You on Twitter?
No, I don't have Twitter.
We'll get you a Twitter. But you can find you on Facebook, Instagram. We'll put all the links in the description, and they can find you, follow you, like you, touch you.
Yes. I don't remember my Facebook link off the top of my head, but on Instagram, I'm at It's Bev Bitch.
That's funny. Mm-hmm. See, you're a funny gal.
I'm a funny gal.
Funny career gal. Career gal.
I just get 2 burgers and fries and Diet Cokes to go because we're in a hurry.
Well, I think it's time to go find some cocktails at the bars. And it was lovely talking to you. And thank you for joining us.
A pleasure. Thanks, Mimi.
Bye.
Get the fuck out of my house.